into my country in this 2-year shouting match where the vitriol and the hate, it's been like a race to the bottom, a fast race, a ceaseless race to the bottom. And I don't know, but if the rest of the country's like this as well, but we've been waiting for that one voice. And we've been waiting for that one voice, that clear voice of unity that's going to unite us, that goes across party lines. And I heard his voice. I heard Beto's voice. And it's also the thing that I heard that I'm most inspired with is that he talks about dealing with this fear that we're all taught to fear. Fear divides us. It paralyzes us. It separates us. It keeps us from voting. So we're not going to worry about that fear. We're gonna lead with love and with intelligence and with courage, because that's what this is. So what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? We're gonna vote. And I know, like Nick said, this has divided families, it's divided friends. I know you know of a friend, of a family member, of a tio, of a primo, an uncle or an aunt that's planning on sitting on the sidelines and not getting involved in this race, and thinking that their vote doesn't matter, that they're like, why should I vote? I need you guys to go out and find that one person, to find out that those 2 people, and bring them to the polls, get them involved, tell them that their vote is sacred. It's sacred. They don't want us to vote.
And there are tools out there for you. You know, there's a Voter Pal app. There's numerous other apps where you can get your friends together and realize that, you know, every one of you should have 20 people that you hold to account and say they are going to make it to the polls. This is going to be one of the closest races we have ever seen. And it's because a lot of you, even that support, don't follow through with the vote, and that's what's most important. And we got to get the other people in our families and our peer groups to do the same.
That's right. Yeah, the margin to victory could be razor thin. It could come down to the people in here and the multiplying effect that you have with your friends and family. That to inspire them, to empower them, to take action. This is an important vote, not just for this, not just for the state of Texas. The whole country's watching you. So go out and vote.
Before Mark starts to put forth his platform, because I think he's going to be running soon too, with a smile like that, we don't want to take away any more from the man of the hour.
That's right.
When I say bet, you say eto. Bet. Thank you so much for being here today, guys, and thank you for inviting us and allowing us to be here. A great state of Texas.
Let's hear it for Nick and for Mark for coming out and joining us, getting us fired up for what we're going to do together. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for being here. Real quick, when we started this 21, 22 months ago, más o menos, and was out there on my own, getting the chance for the first time to meet so many of you, traveling in a rental car. I've told you all the story of trying to get to Dallas from Austin. Google mapping it the night before. This is going to be like 2 hours if you were leaving at 1 a.m. But when I re-Google mapped it the next morning, it's like 8:30 a.m. Now it's going to be like 4 hours. Stopping at the gas station, putting the pump in, double tasking, going in, getting a cup of coffee and a banana, pulling out, and there's this giant gas hose following me out of the parking lot. I left it in the tank. Pull it out, don't realize that the trigger is locked, and so gas just starts splashing all over the car, on my suit. Next 3 hours, all windows are down, driving as fast as I can, trying to air out my suit. Whenever I would go to Travis County, I would get to stay at my friend's, the Clayberg's house, and I see Jay here, and it's his birthday, so big cheer for Jay Clayberg. Happy birthday, buddy. Go Libras. First time I came to Denton County. You guys were so good to me. Remember, we were meeting outdoors, there were bands, there was music, there was art, there was just life, there was fun, there were kids, there were dogs running around. Maybe they belonged to you, maybe they were wild, I don't know. But it was one of those moments, now more than a year and a half ago, where I just knew that we were doing the right thing. And I knew that we were doing it in the right way. No PACs, no special interests, no corporations, just people and their dogs, and sometimes their kids, coming together, not for a candidate, not for a political party, but for the United States of America. All of us in for this country that we love so much. And every day since then, every visit back to Denton County, or to Collin County, or to Tarrant County, or to Dallas County, anywhere in North Texas, it's been the same. Filling me with so much hope, inspiring me, giving me the energy that I need. If we've slept 2 or 3 hours the night before, if, like we did yesterday, we drove from McAllen to Sinton, from Sinton to Austin, from Austin to Fort Worth, and just get up and do it again the next day. The energy I need is you. What you're putting into this is extraordinary. And I'm so lucky to be a part of it. I just want to say thank you. We're showing up everywhere, into every one of the counties, showing up for everyone. If you're a Republican and you're here, you're in the right place. Welcome. Democrats, you're in the right place. Independents, glad that you're here. We're all together. We're showing up together. And the places that I've had the privilege to show up in, from the very biggest, going to Harris County, and going to every single community within Harris County and within Houston, going to Loving, Texas. Really? Because we went to the county seat of Loving, Texas in Mentone, Texas, and knocked on the 19 households, or as many of them as we could. Met the folks in Mentone, in Loving, Texas, the smallest county by population in the state of Texas. Going to places like Taylor County, going to Abilene, going to Muleshoe, going to Childress, going to Amarillo, going to, here I got one for you, anybody from Archer City, Archer County, Lonesome Dove, Last Picture Show, Larry McMurtry. I did that for Nick's benefit. He's an English literature major, so I want to make sure I threw out some references. We show up, and I remember we had been in Wichita Falls the night before. And an unusual place for a Democrat to be in most years, place votes so reliably Republican, that why would you bother to show up and to contest? Because that one's already in the bank for the other side, so why bother? But in the process of doing that, where Democrats fear to tread, Republicans no longer have to show up either, because there's going to be no one to challenge them in November. So the folks in Wichita Falls and Henrietta, Texas, Grayson County, Sherman, no one effectively is there to be in front of those voters, to contest the election, but also to make it a contest of ideas, of vision, of record, of what it is that we want to do with this country, which is all of us in a government that is a democracy, where the people decide, allegedly, right? We're going to determine whether that's the case. So going to places like Archer City, which we were in the day after we had been in Wichita Falls, stayed at the Spur Hotel, walked around the courthouse grounds before going into Mern's Cafe, stopped before we can get in the front door by a gentleman who's lived in Archer City his entire life, pulls out a black and white photo from a manila envelope and shows me a picture of his dad. So look, he's the third guy from the left, the skinny guy, and the gentleman that he's talking to is Lyndon Baines Johnson. The year is 1948, and that is the last person of either party running for Senate to show up in Archer County. The advantage, now Lyndon Baines Johnson did not have the privilege of driving in our Dodge Grand Caravan. He, in 1948, descended out of the sky in a helicopter, landed on the courthouse grounds, walked over to the American Legion Hall, and then sought to listen to and understand those that he wanted to represent and serve in the Senate before he ever asked their vote. And Paul, this guy who's telling me the story, says, My dad lived in Archer County his entire life. I've lived here my entire life. In fact, he's elected official in county government. And no one, you're the first one in 70 years to show up. And so when we walked in to that town hall in Mern's Cafe, all 20 people who came out, 30, if you count the 10 innocents eating breakfast there when we arrived, who we brought into the conversation. This was the first time in literally generations that a conversation about the future of this country through this office, this position of public trust in the U.S. Senate, had been had in that community. I learned a ton, as I did when we went to Throckmorton, the next city on our visit, Baird and Coleman, Brownwood, Stephenville, into the day in Weatherford, Texas. And one of the greatest things about it, there were, I don't know how many people, 300 or 400 in a middle school cafeteria at the end of the day. And the precinct chair who's helped to organize this meeting, before I take the microphone, she says, I got to tell you something. I have been doing this for a very long time. And I've never seen so many people come out and be so fired up. And she said, the best part about it is I don't recognize a soul in this place. When everything is on the line, when the stakes could not be any higher, everyone gets off the sidelines and into the game. Everyone shows up, just like we've been doing in this campaign, for and by one another. Not against anybody else, not against another political party, but for this country and our ability to lead the way. Showing up for people in a state that ranks dead last in the number of insured, to make sure that everyone can see a doctor, everyone can take their child to a therapist so that that kid's well enough to learn and to live to their full potential. Everyone can get their prescription medications that improve their quality of life or just keep them alive. Everyone wants to be there for Joey, this guy I met in Laredo, Texas, 29 years old. He says, listen, I heard you talk about healthcare, and it hits home with me because I've seen a doctor once at a community health clinic. And that doctor, besides telling me that I had diabetes, I have glaucoma, which I knew, said that I will not live to the age of 40 on this trajectory without health care in a state where people are crowdfunding the resources to pay for insulin. And let that sink in. The wealthiest, the most powerful country, the most ingenious place the planet has ever known, whose citizens, taxpayers, all of us, have invested in the research and the development of the cures and medications that are so often sold back to us at the most expensive prices anywhere in the developed world. What if we decided that least insured, more than 4 million who don't have access to health care, maybe that's an abstraction, but Joey in Laredo, whose eyes I looked into, who I met, who's counting on not just me, the candidate, but on every single one of us who's going to decide this election. Those who get arrested, just so screwed up, get arrested on purpose because their schizophrenia, their bipolar disorder, untreated, uncared for, they become so desperate, the suffering so great that the only thing they can do is go to the one place where by law they are guaranteed to be fed, to be clothed, to be housed, to have the psychotropic prescriptions given to them that allow them that purchase on life another day with some level of dignity at a cost to all of us of $400. And it's not just the money that we pay in our taxes to keep that person locked up who has nowhere else to go. It's the fact that we've locked up their potential, their ability to go to school, work a job, run for office, raise their families, start a punk rock band, tour the country, just do what they were intended to do in their lives if only they were well enough to do that. All of that is locked up behind bars along with their body. What if we decided that not only is it the just and moral thing to do, which is compelling enough to me, but if you compare $400 a night to provide care to that person in the county jail, which is the largest provider today of mental health care services in the state of Texas, $14.50 is what we estimate it would cost to provide outpatient mental health care services to that same person. So not only is it the right thing to do, It's the most fiscally responsible thing to do for Texas to take the lead on guaranteed, high-quality, universal health care for everyone. Primary health care, specialty health care, mental health care, whatever care you need to be able to contribute to your maximum capacity. And let's not forget, these challenges that we can use as our opportunities to do better for one another and for this country. This state is at the epicenter of a maternal mortality crisis, 3 times as deadly for women of color. The same state which over the last 7 years has shut down so many family planning clinics that we made it so hard for women to get that cervical cancer screening, to see a family planning provider, to make informed decisions about their health and their bodies and their wellness, to see a provider of any kind. We also know that when we're talking about universal health care, it's every woman making her own decisions about her own body and having access to the health care that she needs to be able to do that. That's a challenge that we're going to meet together. Any school teachers, educators, counselors, librarians, principals, cafeteria workers, bus drivers, you all are my heroes. Against the odds, like not being paid enough to be able just to work one job and having to work a second or a third job just to make ends meet. Against the odds of being asked to teach to a high-stakes, standardized, high-pressure test that in no way effectively measures your performance in the classroom or that child's potential who is before you. I was reading up on Nick, San Antonio, who also has the distinction of pursuing higher education to study James Joyce's masterpiece, Ulysses, which is not the reason that we named our firstborn Ulysses. I am a big fan of Homer, the Odyssey, and the reason we named him Ulysses is because we didn't have the guts to name him Odysseus. That was our path. But it was a school teacher who connected me with the Odyssey. That story and the stories within those stories that connected to my story and the story that I wanted to live and that I wanted to tell, and that I'm so grateful that I got to be introduced to by somebody who took the time and had the patience and had the resources to connect with this kid from El Paso. Today at El Paso High, last time I checked, they're reading the abridged version of the Odyssey. They have to set aside so many days of standardized test prep that there aren't enough days to read the book in its entirety. That's screwed up too. Those are our priorities upside down. Just like in Texas, where we have not paid a cost of living adjustment in 13 years to retired teachers, doubled their cost of health care last year, imposed upon them the windfall elimination provision, which means if you earned money in the private sector before you dedicated your life to public service, we will penalize you. You will not be able to draw down 100% of the earned benefits that you paid into. Now, I don't know why we as a state decided to do this. Perhaps, and indulge me on this, school teachers, retired school teachers were getting filthy rich in this state at public expense. And we decided that we had to put an end to it right away. Or else, we've lost sight of our priorities and the fact that the very future of this country is before those teachers in those classrooms. And if we want it to be a better and a brighter future, we've got to invest in those teachers, pay them a living wage, allow them to teach to the child, not the test, make sure their retirement is one of dignity and not of poverty, and recruit the next generation of world-class teachers into those classrooms to make sure that this country is even better, even greater, even stronger going forward. What if this state, when we're talking about showing up for everyone, we're showing up for folks who don't have a PAC, who don't have lobbyists, don't have the ear of the special interests or members of Congress who aren't showing up to hold town hall meetings in the communities of Texas? What if those, the most vulnerable, and in many cases at their most desperate, those who have fled persecution, who have fled violence, who have fled brutality that we here in our lives can only imagine. Like, imagine what it would take for you to scoop up your baby, your kid, travel 2,000 miles, much of that on foot, some of it atop a train known as the Beast or La Bestia, to come here. Stranger in a strange land. No money in your pocket, no idea where your next step will take you. Things would have to be really bad for the O'Rourkes. But Amy and I agreed, if it were the only way to save Ulysses and Molly's and Henry's life, that's exactly what we would do. In this country of immigrants and asylum seekers and refugees, when those who are called to and inspired by us, who have no other home on the planet to go to, whose own government cannot protect them, when they make that trek and when they come here, instead of finding that salvation or safety that they sought for that child, for whom they risked everything, including their lives, to find their worst nightmare. That child taken from them by force if necessary. Babies torn from the breasts of their mothers. Those moms turned over to the Department of Justice, prosecuted like common criminals, deported back to the very countries from which they fled. And today, far too many kids still in foster care homes, in a tent city known as Tornillo, just outside of El Paso, Texas, knowing not when or even if they're going to see that mom or that dad again. And I'll tell you, having been there in the wake of this disastrous zero-tolerance policy in McAllen, Texas, in a Border Patrol station that is the busiest along the 2,000 miles of our border, meeting a mother with her daughter, her 7-year-old daughter, who, as I'm asking the mom questions about why she left Honduras and what she expects to see here in this country, that little girl never once took her eyes off of her mom's face, never once was curious enough to look at me, never once let go of her mother's hand, squeezed it with all that she had in her, as I imagined that she had been doing for the last 3 weeks, for the last 2,000 miles, unbeknownst to either of them, though they had just turned themselves in hours before. Within hours, they would be separated. And who knows when they would see each other again. We've been on the other side of that too. When those families, lucky enough to be reunited, first see each other again. I remember being in Loretto Chapel in El Paso, Texas, with this extraordinary group called Annunciation House that facilitates these reunions. Another 7-year-old girl and another young mother reunited for the first time in months. And instead of that big, goofy smile that you would expect to see on that little girl's face, which is exactly the smile that Henry, my 7-year-old, shows me when I pull up after weeks or months on the road. Instead of tears of joy or recognition, there is nothing. An absolute vacant expression on that kid's face. And here's the assumption that I've made. That child has been hurt as gravely as somebody can be hurt.
Yes.
That person who she loved more than anything in the world is the very person that she associates with the pain that's greater than anything that she could have ever imagined that she would feel. Some part of her, at least for the time being,
Right.
is unable to open up to her again, lest she be hurt in that same way. We know as a country, you don't have to be a psychologist to come to this conclusion. We're doing real harm to these kids. It's tantamount to torture, it's cruelty, and it's inhumane. But here's the question. Though it were the decision of just one man, Donald J. Trump, to impose this kind of misery on our fellow human beings, every day that it persists, as long as we are a democracy, it's on every single one of us. So we must meet this challenge with our urgency to make it right, that no child again be separated, those not yet reunited are joined with their families at once, and that we lead not with fear or paranoia, or who we're going to lock out or wall off, but we embrace the future, our best ideals, our promise, and our potential. This state, the defining border state, immigrant story and experience, we together, Republicans and Democrats, rewrite our immigration laws in our own image, defined by our experiences, reflecting our advantage. Nothing to apologize for, nothing to be defensive about, nothing to wall off. Everything with which to lead right now at this moment. And we can continue forward ensuring that dreamers who know no other country but this one, whose home is America, who are every bit as American as anyone else in any way that matters, that they are freed from the fear of deportation by being made citizens here in their country. able to contribute to their maximum capacity, give it all they got right here in the colony in Denton, in El Paso, in Texas, in this country. Yesterday, we had a town hall, a rally in Sinton, Texas, at a VFW hall. And it was a reminder to me of those who have served this country, going all the way back before many of us, maybe any of us, were born. I think of Marcelino Serna from Chihuahua, Mexico, who came to this country undocumented. Some would call him illegal. And when the United States entered World War I, Marcelino Serna entered the United States Army. And when his drill sergeant said, "Hey, Serna, this is not your fight. You're not a citizen. You don't have to go over there. We're going to send every single man in this unit over to France, but not all of them will return. Why don't you go back to El Paso or go back to Chihuahua? You don't have to do this." And of course, Serna said, "No, this is my country, and so this is my war, and I'm going with this unit." He comes back, though he didn't have citizenship, the most distinguished and decorated veteran from the state of Texas to serve in all of World War I. And so at this point, as this country is building walls with our closest neighbor, with whom we are not at war, our number one trading partner in the state of Texas, the lowest levels of northbound apprehensions since 1971, the year before I was born. As we're building walls, the city of El Paso just dedicated a new international bridge that connects us with the city of Ciudad Juarez, and we named it after Marcelino Serna, right? Connecting our communities again, making sure that we remember who we are. Those who served in World War II, Korea, the Vietnam-era veteran who came back to a country that did not understand his service, met not with the ticker tape parades or the thank yous for your service, just quietly got back to work, raising his family, contributing to the success of his community, being there for this country, showing up, even though this country took 40 years to recognize his exposure to Agent Orange as a presumptive condition for the cancers and the diseases which were consuming him. 40 years before we lifted a finger, spent a penny to make sure that we met our end of the obligation. But I'll tell you what, those Vietnam-era veterans were also my heroes. I see them at every single town hall meeting I hold in El Paso, standing up, not for themselves, not even for their generation, making sure that every generation of veteran that follows, from the first Gulf War to those who will be coming back tomorrow from Afghanistan and Iraq and Syria and Somalia and Niger and Libya, that they are treated with the respect and the dignity that they deserve, given what they were willing to do for this country. Those who put their lives on the line for the United States of America, willing to sacrifice all to make sure that we are free, that we can pursue our foreign policy goals. They deserve our investment in their mental health care in a country that loses 20 veterans a day, every single day, by their own hand. We should spare no expense. We should bear every burden to make sure that they get the care that they need. In a country where we have too many veterans who are homeless without a roof over their head, we need to make sure that we get them into housing. We connect them with the career, the education, the small business ownership opportunity that allows them also to live to their full potential. But we must also do this. Before we start the next war, before we renew the wars that we are already in, we just marked our entry into the 18th year in Afghanistan. We are effectively 27 years at war in Iraq. I was 18 years old, a high school senior, when George H.W. Bush first announced we were going to war in that country. And through 6 successive administrations, 27 years later, we are still there. If we are unable to answer these questions, what is victory? What is our strategy to achieve it? And why do we fight? Why do we ask you to potentially sacrifice your life? Why do we ask you to take the lives of others in the name of this country? We, the world's greatest democracy, and what is purported to be the greatest deliberative body within it, should be able and willing to have that debate and that conversation and make sure that we understand the answers to those questions. If we can't answer them to our satisfaction, well then, let's commit every resource possible to those who are waging those wars so that we can win it. But if we are unwilling to answer those questions, to even have the debate or the conversation, then not only must we not start another war, We must end the wars that we are in and bring those service members back home. That is the way to honor that sacrifice and that service and that dedication to this country. So showing up for everyone. Whether it's those veterans who served us, those who can't afford health care, those school teachers and educators who make the difference in our kids' life. Showing up for immigrants from a country of immigrants, though they have no political lobby getting behind them, we understand who we are 242 years into this country. Standing up for those left behind by a criminal justice system that has produced the largest prison population per capita on the planet. A population that looks nothing like the United States of America, disproportionately comprised of people of color. Prison population whose journey begins as early as 5 years old in a kindergarten classroom, where depending on your race and your ethnicity, you may be 4 to 5 times more likely to be disciplined, to be suspended, to be expelled. Your opportunity to finish high school, to go on to higher education, diminish. Likelihood that you're going to be part of that criminal justice system increased. What if we decided to meet those challenges, to show up for everyone? It means true equity in education, beginning that academic career not in kindergarten, but pre-K universally, paying teachers what they're worth, investing in their training, making sure where we can they look like the students that they're teaching who are in front of them. And then ending a war on drugs that has become a war on people. Ending the prohibition on marijuana and expunging the arrest records for everyone arrested for possession of something that's legal in so much of the rest of the country. Allow people to get on with their lives, to do what they were intended to do. We're showing up every day, everywhere, for everyone. And what we all need to do now is to commit to showing up on Monday. Casting that vote, deciding the future, the fortune, and the fate of this country, led by the people of the state of Texas. And I guarantee you, if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to bring those friends, those family members, those classmates, those colleagues, those neighbors, who you know it's not polite to talk politics with, but you understand that this is the election of our lifetime, so you're going to break that rule just this one time. If you're willing to knock on doors, to make phone calls, to engage human being to human being in this deeply divided, highly digital moment, I guarantee you, you will transcend any cynicism or apathy or differences that exist between us. I know that from past experience, from knocking on doors in this campaign, from knocking on doors when we first ran for Congress in 2012. Outspent by our opponent 5-1, we made a virtue of a necessity. Knocking on doors full-time every day, and I knew it was working. With a little more than a month ago, walked into a diner for breakfast one morning. This guy stops me, and he says, "Last Thursday, you knocked on my grandmother's door. She invited you in. She told you about her family, her grandson who's in the Marines, her daughter who's a school teacher. You listened to her. You all had a great conversation, then you moved on. You knocked on the doors down the street. Well, on Sunday, my grandmother, as she does every Sunday, had all 32 of her grandkids over for menudo. And she made each one of us promise to vote for you in this next election." So this guy said something to the effect, "Dude, I don't know who you are, but I'm voting for you, so don't mess this up, okay?" That's our opportunity right now. Connect with every single person that you can. Go to betofortexas.com. Sign up. I will put you to work. Given what we are going to decide for our country and what the people of the future are counting on from us now, the people of 2018, you do not want to wake up the day after the election wondering what more you could have done, how many more doors you could have knocked on, how many more phone calls you could have made, how many more conversations you could have had. This moment will define us forever. So you all ready to work? Ready to vote? Are you ready to win? We're going to win one for Texas, for this country, for this generation, and every generation that follows. Thank you for having us out. We love you, Denton County. Yeah.
Solamente que check out betofortexas.com, and early voting starts Monday, so feel free to check. If you Google your county name with vote, you'll be able to find your information.
But, like Beto just said, it's going to take more than your vote to get him elected. It's going to take more than going around talking to your neighbors, which is great. We need all of you to come out and volunteer at our pop-up offices that are opening up all across the county, all across the state. And specifically, we have some in Little Elm, the Colony, Denton County, everywhere. And so we need y'all to come and volunteer. Sign up with these sheets, find any of us three or their sheets whenever you exit, and sign up for specific times to block walk and phone bank to talk to hundreds of thousands of our supporters, because we need to get them out to the polls. We need to make sure we get Beto elected to Senate so we don't have 6 more years of you know who. All right? Can we do that? Can we get you to volunteer? Yeah! Woo! Woo! All right. Thank y'all so much, and please come find one of us and sign up to volunteer.
Thank you very much. Likewise.
You want to talk on the ice cream while you're going to
I can, but I want a photo with him.
okay.
You know where the photo line is?
Okay, there he goes. Okay, everyone, so betofortexas.com. Pueden ir a betofortexas.com. Early voting starts Monday. Votación temprana empieza el lunes. For your location, for your information, please you can Google your county name and vote. Para ver información de cómo votar, pueden poner en su buscador de internet el nombre de su condado y vote o vote, y así pueden buscar la información. Thank you all for sharing, thank you all for watching, gracias por ver, gracias por compartir. Move on for Beto or
Señora, ¿hablan español, inglés? Ok. Ahorita puede dar su primer nombre y después por qué va a votar por Beto en español si gusta.
Sí. Hola, mi nombre es Ingrid McCarthy. Obviamente voy a votar por Beto. ¿Por qué voto por Beto? Porque Beto representa nuestros valores. Es querer que la gente tenga seguro médico, como mi hija que ha tenido una condición médica toda su vida y hemos batallado toda una vida porque tenga cuidado médico. Por el derecho a la gente de no separar a los hijos en la frontera, porque yo como madre moriría si me quitaran a mis hijos. Por el derecho a la gente de tener libertad y democracia. Voten por Beto, no se los olvide. Ya saben, el 6 de noviembre los esperamos para su voto.
Muchas gracias. Voy a ver si puedo conseguir a alguien más. Asking them why they're voting for. I'm gonna see if I can find someone else to ask them why they're gonna vote for Beto. So I don't know if they're making a line. So early voting starts Monday. Votación temprana empieza el lunes. Make sure everybody knows. In Dallas County, I know we're open Monday, October 22nd through Friday, November 2nd, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Just on Sunday, it's from 1 to 6. That's Dallas County. Sé que en el condado de Dallas, la votación temprana es del lunes, octubre 22, hasta el viernes, noviembre 2, de 7 de la mañana a 7 de la noche. Solamente el domingo, sé que es de 1 a 6. But again, please look at your local county elections office to see when early voting is, where early voting is. Pueden buscar a su lugar de su condado para ver dónde son las votaciones y cuándo van a ser las votaciones. So I recommend people do a Google search with their county name and vote. Yo recomiendo que la gente ponga en algo para buscar el nombre del condado y vote para que pueda ver cómo es votar ahí. Sir, do you want to say why are you voting? Well, I mean, do you want to say it?
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So you want to say your first name and then why you're voting for Beto?
My name is Henry, and I'm voting for Beto because as a from Salvador, I came here after the Civil War, and now I'm a U.S. citizen, served in the Navy, and I feel like he represents everything that I represent. So way better than Ted Cruz does. So, and I just can't vote for Ted Cruz. You can't vote for him. But that he represents everything, love everything. So that's why I vote for Beto.
Thank you so much. Muchas gracias. Do you speak Spanish o lo quieres en español?
Sí, sí.
Okay, ¿por qué va a votar por Beto?
Actually, no.
Okay. That's okay. Muchas gracias. So we're just here. Beto spoke at the Colony, which is pretty much at the bridge of Denson in Dallas County. He is going to be at another area in Dallas County later today, so you can look on information on the page. We'll have it on the Viva Beto page also. Ahorita acaba de acabar el evento de Beto O'Rourke en the Colony, Texas, que es una suburbia al norte de Dallas. También va a haber otro evento como a las 4:30 de la tarde en lo que es Dallas. Así que vamos a tener a Viva Beto en vivo también ahí. Una vez más, estoy recordando a todos que la votación temprana empieza mañana lunes y es hasta viernes, noviembre 2. So just a reminder to everyone that early voting starts tomorrow, Monday, and it goes all the way to Friday, November 2nd. I think everybody has to know that it's not enough to just share, vote for Beto, I support Beto. It's necessary for all of us to do everything we can to get out the vote, to physically get people to actually go and vote. So whatever difficulty people have, if they don't know where, if they don't know when, if they don't know how to get there, please research locally what different groups are trying to work with that. Creo que es muy importante que nos acordemos que no es suficiente solamente decir vota por Beto o Beto es suficiente, sino todos nosotros tenemos que poder hacer todo lo posible para informar a toda la gente para informar a todos de cuándo son las votaciones, dónde son las votaciones, cómo puedo llegar a ir a votar. Así que se les pido a todos que por favor localmente busquen por los diferentes grupos que están tratando de agarrar que las personas vayan a votar, y aún hay grupos locales que están dando que están tratando de agarrar raíz a las personas. Okay, so this is the line to get Beto swag. Esa es la línea para agarrar artículos que dicen Beto. Do you want to?
Okay, I'll do
You
it.
want to? Okay,
Yeah,
English
it's
or
gonna
Spanish?
be in English, but it'll be really short, okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
All right, you want to say your first name and why you're voting for Beto?
Yeah. I'm Rebecca, and I'm voting for Beto because I think everybody deserves health care.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you, Rebecca. So there you go, healthcare, education, all of these issues that matter to all Texans, not just one party or not just one minority of people. Así que como lo ven, hemos escuchado una y otra vez que la salud es importante, el tema de educación es importante, lo que es inmigración es importante, todas esas cosas que son importantes no solo para una población o para un partido, sino para todos los tejanos. Así que por eso es que Beto, posiblemente esa es una razón que Beto ha agarrado tanto apoyo, porque sabemos que necesitamos a personas y gente electa que de verdad apoyan a todos los valores de lo que son todos los tejanos. So this might be one reason that Beto has gotten so much support, because we realize that it's necessary for campaigns and candidates to really be public servants that want to reach out to all the issues that all of our constituents care about, like education, healthcare, immigration, all of these issues that are extremely important to all of us. All right, guys, so I think we're gonna wrap it up. Again, www.betofortexas.com. Una vez más, www.betofortexas.com. BETOFOR Texas.com. Have a great one. Que tengan buen día and make sure to go vote. Asegúrense de salir a votar.
Yeah, it's actually